educated. So JAKI was an amazingly multifaceted player. I mean, he commanded the whole spectrum of jazz piano. He could go from, you know, Fats was one of his early influences. If I remember correctly, I interviewed him, downbeat, because I really wanted to do something for him. And did a two-part interview, and I put him on the cover for one of them. And, you know, putting somebody on the cover of Downbeat, I mean, I hope it would do something for him, but it didn't really. But he had a lot of interesting things to say. He was a very, very brilliant guy and knew, you know, tons about music and piano history and everything. But Fats was his first influence, the first time. And he could do that. He could play a terrific stride, and you know, went from that to, you know, the latest. He didn't have a particular relationship with Cecil Taylor, but he was perfectly aware of what Cecil was doing, and he could, you know, he certainly could understand it very well. He had a thorough, absolutely thorough knowledge of piano jazz history, but also the instrument itself, you know. And I don't remember how much, you know, schooling he had. I don't think it was that much. He's from Worcester, Mass, if I'm not mistaken. That's where he's from. I got to know him around New York. First thing, I think I knew him before he got with Mingus. It was, I guess, his connection with Mingus where he became best known publicly. He was not necessarily that happy with Ming, you know. Mingus was difficult. We have to talk about him too sometime, if we haven't already. He was, needless to say, I mean, he was difficult to work for because he, you know, would do things impulsively, you know. He's probably the only leader who regularly interrupted a piece in the middle. He didn't like what was going on, or stopped somebody from it. Anyway, JAKI was not too happy with that, although it helped make him better known. He also, again, Don Schlitten was a big fan of JAKI's. Don was a very good producer. He worked for Prestige for quite a while and did a lot of good things. And he eventually wound up with his own label, Xanadu, and before that there was, what was it? It was in connection with Joe Fields, and there was, oh, I actually remember I did a ton of liner notes for the label, but and also did reissue stuff. He was friendly with Jerry Newman, and he got a lot of Jerry's things from Minton's and so on. But anyway, he recorded JAKI quite extensively, and fortunately, you know, gave him good exposure. He was a talented composer as well, and he had a great sense of humor, which helps, you know, when you're a musician who is not, you know, making $1 million. It helps to have a sense of humor. And he was exceedingly flexible. I think you could have put him in any context, you know, and it would have worked. And he was a wonderful soloist. He was also, he was a composer as well. He wrote a suite, which I think Don recorded, that had to do with European experience of his, and he was a delightful person, Jackie was, and I would say that, you know, he is one of the standout piano players of his generation, and I had the good fortune of seeing a lot of him, hearing a lot of him, both as a solo pianist, which he was great at, and in groups, and he was one of a kind. And not, again, I mean, he should have been